Hello people! Welcome back to Food Glam Life. So today, as you can probably guess from the title of the video, I wanted to do what you should do regarding your makeup and probably something that you should stay wary of. So this video will be a little different from the other do's and don'ts of makeup that you see on YouTube because I'm specifically talking about Desi women, and all of the don'ts that I'm going to be talking about are things that I have actually seen and observed in Pakistan, India, the South Asian region. So this is very specific to us. If it applies to you and you're not South Asian, great. And I also have to give a little disclaimer that this is not to make anyone feel bad, but it's basically geared more towards perhaps some women who are beginners or just starting to dabble in makeup or are interested in and are wondering why they don't get the look that they want when they do their makeup. And perhaps these are some of the mistakes that they make. And also, these aren't like one person will do all of them. There are probably certain things that you or someone you know is doing and others you're not. So that disclaimer aside, I'm going to start. So for reference purposes, on my right side of the face, I will be doing the do's of makeup and the left side of the face will be the don'ts. All right, so first things first. What I do recommend anytime you're starting a full face of makeup is that you moisturize. So on the right side of my face, I'm going to be using this Murad Age Balancing Moisturizer, and it's got an SPF of 30, so it's pretty good. You always want to remember that it's extremely, extremely important, especially if you have dry skin like me, to moisturize and let that set in before you start any kind of makeup. I remember many, many years ago at my cousin's wedding, we went to a salon for her makeup and I wanted to get my makeup done as well. And I was so shocked because the lady told me to wash my face, and then when I said it's really dry, I need to put some moisturizer on, and she's like, no, just leave it. We don't want moisturizer. Hashtag cake face. Anyway, so already I think you can notice, a little bit of more glow and luminosity on the side of the face. The second thing that I would recommend is to prime your face. Now, primer has many different purposes for different skin needs. For example, if you have larger pores, you would probably need a pore blurring or minimizing primer. And if you have dry skin like me, I have a reverse T-zone, and then I also get dry patches like under my eyes or on my cheeks. I'll get flaky skin around my nose and my forehead, and I don't want my foundation to cling to that, and that is not a pretty look. Certain moisturizers can also work like primers, so it just needs to give your face a little bit of a smoother canvas and sometimes a little tackiness for the foundation to cling on to. I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Hydrating Primer on one side of the face and only apply it to the areas where I need it. I'm not taking it all over my face. And then again, this side I've done nothing. I've also gone ahead and moisturized this side of my lips because I'm going to be applying lipstick. This side I've left. So you'll notice you don't moisturize your lips and, scrub them and all of that. People with chapped lips often have that problem. And then you can see that with the lipstick. Okay, so while that primer is setting in, I'm going to go in with my brows. Most other videos that are made like this, they'll show you that people really overdo their eyebrows or make them really dark. Or what I've noticed with a lot of Desi women is that they'll have a full face of makeup on and their brows are completely left as they are. Here's the problem. Unless you have naturally thick and full brows, in that case you don't need to do this, but as we age, we start losing hair on our eyebrows as well. And what happens is these sparse areas start developing. And when you get pictures taken, especially with flash, it really ages you. So a quick little technique to have your makeup look put together and not to look as aged is by simply filling out your eyebrows, and you can do that with an eyebrow pencil, you can do that with a dip pomade, you can use one of those little kits, and if nothing else, you can just use eyeshadow that's closest to your eyebrow shade. I'm going to do is quickly fill this in, and what I do recommend is using shorter strokes and attempting to keep the whole look more natural. So you see there's a difference between this eyebrow and this eyebrow, which I'm not going to even touch at all. And like I said, if nothing else, what you can do is just use some eyeshadow I'm using a lighter color on the front, which is basically before the arch, and a darker shade where the tail end is. If you have unruly eyebrows, which means your hair starts going all over the place and standing up, I would recommend a clear eyebrow gel. You can just use to set. Right, so eyebrows done, and this is specifically for women who have deep set and dark under eye circles like I do. If you're blessed with not having that, then this is a step you could skip. But if you've noticed that you put your concealer on and it looks kind of ashy under your eyes, I would recommend using a salmon tone, or if they're really dark, to go towards orange, sometimes even red, something with a more reddish tone. And what you want to do is just apply that and just use a finger and pat that in. And what it does is it neutralizes the blues and the purples. So because I'm not putting it on the other side, you'll see the difference that it makes when you apply your concealer. And I'm not going lower than where needed. The thing about corrector is that you only need to apply it where you have that really dark patch of skin. There are other correctors that you could apply if you have rosacea or have a lot of acne and a lot of redness. You can apply the green correctors. And now we're finally going to do something on the left side. What I'm going to do is foundation, and what I recommend on your do side, and I'm using a foundation that's easily available everywhere. This is the Maybelline Fit Me. I use the shade Nude Beige in 125. Now I want to show you why I use this. This is really close to my skin tone, and that is exactly what I recommend when you apply foundation, is to use a foundation that is closer to your skin tone so that it looks like natural skin and not like you have a mask on. And the other thing that I would recommend is that you work, when you use this foundation or any foundation, is that you work it into your hairline, go down your jaw. If you have two very starkly different colors, for example your hairline, there's a gap between where your foundation ends and your hairline, all of those things are very, very visible, especially when you take pictures. This is a very great foundation. It's affordable, it's easily available, and it really leaves a very beautiful finish on your face. It's medium coverage, but it's buildable. But what I really like about it is that it looks like it's me, not like I have someone else's face on. Now what I want to show you that we often have noticed, especially when we go to weddings and functions and events, is that people will end up using a shade that is way too light for their skin. So I'm using this Luscious foundation stick. Now think about it. I'm using a foundation stick on a completely dry skin where, I even have these blemishes that are kind of drying up. And the color I've chosen to use is ivory. And this is what people often end up doing, is that they'll use a shade that's way too light for their skin. And I have to tell you, this is really hard to blend. I'm assuming it's because I didn't moisturize. I already feel like I'm applying like a clown face because look how dark my actual skin tone is compared to this shade, which is meant for you can even see the difference between the shade on my face and my ear and my neck. It just looks very odd. But we see people using these, even the TV stick foundation, especially even salons and stuff, they'll just cake it on. And it literally looks like a mask because I haven't blended it into my hairline or into my ear or any of that stuff. But I'm trying to be fair, and I'm at least blending it as much as I can. So foundation is on. Next we're going to get into concealer. I'm using the Radiant Creamy Concealer by NARS in the shade Custard. And here's why I want to show you why we put concealer on in this triangular sort of shape under our eyes. Other than highlighting or whatever, the main reason why you want your concealer to go at least a little lower than where just your dark circles are, is so that it blends with the rest of your face and your look. I'm also putting it on top of my eyelid just so that it's all blended out. I remember when I was 15 years old and my oldest sister was getting married, I was really into makeup and I thought I was the bomb. I remember it was her wedding and I started using someone else's makeup and I put concealer on and it was 3 shades too light. I don't think I put any foundation on, and I put it only over here in the pictures. Every time I look at them, they make me cringe. What? Because I look like a creepy reverse clown raccoon. No. Reverse raccoon clown. I don't know what that means, but basically I had this just over here, this just white flash, and then it's so bad. And because I thought I was covering up my dark circles, but it just kind of brought more attention to it. I think in person it didn't look as bad, but in pictures with flash, it was terrible. I don't even think I said it or anything. I didn't know anything. I thought I was really cool. But I think that's what happens when you're a teenager. You think you're really cool. I'll show you on the other side when you only put it in that darker circle area. Basically what happens is that it looks like you just have this strip of white. That's not something you want. You don't want, when you have pictures or whatever, for it to show that you just have this strip of white. And just so that it stays in that one area, I'm going to use a brush instead. However, here it might not even be a big deal because I've already used a very white foundation. As I'm blending this out, it just seems really, really bright right under the eye, whereas here it's sort of more seamless. Also, I'm not going to go on top. I'm just going to like right under the eye. Now for my do side, I'm going to lightly set under my eye with a translucent powder, just because I don't want any creasing. I'm also going to use this to kind of highlight. I'm not baking or anything, I'm just setting it. I'm going to use the Maybelline Fit Me Set and Smooth powder, lightly dust it on my face. Now for the other side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the little puff that this comes with, and I'm going to really dig it in. Make sure my makeup is really, really set. Now let's move on to the eyes. You can use a concealer or an eyeshadow primer to prime your lids, which I recommend. Here I'm going to leave it just as it is. And for both eyes, I'm going to be using the same exact shades, but the technique is going to be completely different. So first, should we go with the do or the don't? Let's go with the don't. I'm not going to apply any transition shade. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Now these kind of brushes are, when they're flat, they're meant to be packing on eyeshadow onto your lid. They're not meant for blending or buffing things out. In fact, I want to make it a little darker on the outside because I want a smoky look, like a gold color. Apply it on my eyebrow bone because, I want that shimmer shimmer. Now you notice that this gold is way too shimmery and too dark for this part of your eye. I'm doing a smoky look. Here's the problem. I haven't taken the time to blend anything out. I haven't used a transition shade. I've just gone ahead and packed on color, and I'm just thinking that's what's required. That's what looks good, right? Now, for the most part, you could get away with this and, carry this off probably really well. But let me show you how, if you follow these steps that I'll do on my right side, how much better those same shades can look. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture with flash just at the, somewhere at the end, and just to show you how different it looks. Because a lot of these events, we go in, we take pictures with flash, and then you look at them and you're like, whoa, I thought I looked really good, right? One of these blending kind of brushes, I'm going to go in with something that is a transition shade, which is a lighter peachy brown shade. And first I'm going to put that into my crease. That's where I start, and blend above and below. Now the other thing you'll notice is that because I had concealer and because I had an eyeshadow base, pigmentation and the color payoff of the eyeshadows is much better. And you'll see that now I have a transition between all the other shades that I'll be applying and this right up here. I'm not going to take any of my dark shades up here. I'm only going to keep it close to my crease. I'm going to take that same dark shade that I took before, and I'll lightly tap it on first and kind of work it also into just the crease. And I'm going to go in circular motion, this blending pattern. Then I'll go with the next darker shade that I wanted and put that right on the outer side. So you see, you work towards it and you take your time, especially if you're doing like a smoky-ish kind of look. You don't want harsh lines or demarcations. So I'm really, as you can see, working that in. And then I can go again in with a darker shade or with the same shade and just keep working on that. Now remember, I wanted, because it's an evening out or whatever, and I wanted a little bit of shimmer on my brow bone. I'm going to go in with very light kind of a shimmer, not that dark, but something that will really uplift it versus making it look ridiculous. And I'm just going to apply that right on the borders of my brow bone. This eye looks a little droopier, it's going downwards, and this one looks a little more awake, a little more lifted. Now, because I want some shimmer in the middle, and I was using that gold shade, I can either take it on my brush or even my finger. And for the inner corner, I want a very light pop of color just to open it up really. I'm pretty sure you can see the difference between this eye and this eye. The second thing that I'm also going to do is put eyeshadow on the bottom of my eyes just so that it has a more blended out kind of balanced look on the top and bottom. And I will start with that same transition shade and smoke it out on the bottom. And I know it seems like, oh, this takes so much time, but Rome wasn't built in one day. I just want you to remember that. I'll take that same dark shade that I was initially using, put that on the outer and closer to the lash line. Here I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to do the same thing here, but I'm also going to smudge it out and kind of set it at the same time, and tight line as well. Take a little bit of dark eyeshadow and use that to help set it. And then again, go back with the transition shade. Make sure it's well smoked out. Now I am going to apply eyeliner on both sides. I think eyeliner is something that's very personal. A lot of times I see people who just do eyeliner on the bottom and not the top, and it leaves a very unbalanced look to your eye. But you know, a lot of people don't do that, so I'm going to do the eyeliner and come back. Now what I do notice is sometimes people will put on eyeliner and just be really messy with it. They'll leave a gap between where my lash line ends and where that eyeliner starts, and that just looks messy. Now if you have dead straight eyelashes like mine, I'm going to recommend curling them for just a few seconds, give it a few pumps, then go in with the mascara. I'm not using falsies just because not everyone uses them. From the bottom and then wiggle upwards. And then I'm also going to do the bottom lashes. Now here's one thing that I personally do that I recommend is keeping, basically took an old, this is the e.l.f. lash extending mascara. It did nothing for me, but the wand on it was pretty great. And so I sanitized it, and then I just use that after I put on mascara, is that I brush out through my lashes so that they don't look as clumped. I like my lashes to look more fluttery. Now on the other side, I haven't curled. I'm just going to do a coat on the top. You can see the difference. Now let's get into our face and our contour. And I do realize this is something that not everyone does. I don't know if you remember when I said not to use a warm-based shimmery bronzer to contour. I wanted to show you what that would look like. So this is the one by MAC called Refined Golden, and it's got specks of glitter in it. And what I'm going to do is use it right here like a contour. And you see already it's like putting an orange stripe on my face. I'm not taking much time to blend it out. I'm going to do my forehead, along my nose. What I would recommend is the Hoola bronzer. And the Hoola bronzer is good because it's a little cooler toned. It's not extremely like gray, but it's a very nice tone. The point of using a cooler tone for contouring is because the cooler shade actually provides a natural looking shade shadow, which is what the whole point of contouring is. You have to remember to blend it out as well. Now when I'm looking straight ahead, I can see that this side of my face actually looks a little more chiseled out versus this side of my face. And I'm going to use a regular bronzer just to give me some color. We come to blush. I'm going to be using these 4 shades by Etude. Unfortunately, I've noticed people take, let's say like this kind of a shade, and they have this chunk of color of like really heavy blush that's sitting right on their face. And I'm not kidding, I've seen this. And it looks crazy, like clown-like. Yes? No? Let me know down in the comments if you think that that's okay. Now I'm going to use the same shade on the same brush. Now I use this because it's a very pigmented blush and it's very, very dark. So you can see it very clearly. And I'm going to take it and sort of pat it on the palm of my hand. I'm going to look into the mirror. I'm going to give myself a smile. See where the apples of my cheeks are. And very lightly dust it on and take it upwards. I still feel like it. I want to give a light flush of color to my face. Dude, that was still very pigmented. And anytime you feel like even that's too much, you can go over it with like just plain face powder. This just looks like you're flushed and smiling and happy, and this is just very, very obvious. And I'm going to use the Master Chrome by Maybelline. And just, you see the highlighted areas are just right on top of my cheekbone in a C shape. Put a little bit on my tip of my nose. This is just something I don't recommend that you do for highlight. It's like paint it on and also to put it on your cheek. You see all this texture on my face? Here it looks like my face is maybe not completely texture free, but not as emphasized as it is over here. Don't highlight your cheeks. My skin just looks so much worse. Let's get to lips. For my do side, what I do recommend is lining your lips and using that same liner to fill in. And what this does is helps your lipstick stay on longer. Even if you eat it off or whatever, your lip liner will stay. And then also when you line it, it helps from letting your lips bleed, especially again as we grow older and we start getting, a little wrinkled around our lips. Lipstick does tend to start feathering around it. I'm not using a liquid lipstick because a lot of people don't use liquid lipsticks. I'm just going to apply it here without the lip liner. And you can see that there's more likelihood of me going outside of my natural lip line just because I don't even have that guide to follow. I'm going to set just one side of my face. And that, you guys, is the finished look. As you can see, there are a lot of mistakes. Maybe you're making them, maybe you're not, but you can definitely see that there is a clear and visible difference between the do's versus the don'ts. It just makes your whole face look more lifted. The eyes, they look more open and bigger. This side, it looks droopier. There is just general cake face. I don't know if you can notice it in this lighting, but I'm going to take a picture and put that up as well. Even just generally blending everything out was so much harder here because I didn't moisturize, I didn't prime, and it's not going to last as long. It's going to move all over the place. I don't know about you, but I personally prefer this side. Let me know what you think, what your comments are, what other things I might have missed or you notice that people do which are not right or which you need more help with. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and sitting through this really long video. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Give me a comment. I love hearing back from you. What did you think about it? And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye.